Hello everyone. Today I'm going to do my presentation for my activity for ESOL. This is what I'm going to be using for some of my tutoring sessions. The template that you're looking at right now is from Slides Mania, and I highly recommend using it because a lot of the templates that they provide are free and you can edit them and curate them to your content. So this was actually pretty easy to create. So I'll start my activity with welcoming my student to the tutoring session with any important dates that are coming up. And I will go through how to find some of the assignments on Google Classroom and how to use Google Docs. I want to introduce my student to Google Docs just so that she can share her Google Doc with me. So if I ask her to type any response, I can see what she's typing. Since we're not meeting face to face, that way I can see what she's doing, if she has any questions, and it's just easier if you can't see their paper. So for the first activity, we'll click on Monday, and we are adding decimals, so that's a 5th grade standard, and we're also learning how to compare and contrast. So for each day, we have a math standard that we're trying to cover and an English standard just to strengthen those English skills. So for today, we have the goals. So we have 4 activities that we're going to complete. Activity 1 will be a reading activity. Activity 2 will be a writing activity. Activity 3 will be a listening activity. And activity 4 will be a game. So every day of the week when I do my lesson plans, I will have a reading, writing, and listening option for each day, just so my ESOL student can strengthen those skills while also learning math. So we'll start with activity 1, which is the reading activity. So this is where I would say to my student, take a second and read this paragraph and let me know when you've finished. So I would give them a second to read through by themselves without me reading it out loud, just to strengthen their skills with attempting to read a passage. When my student tells me that they're done, then I'm going to click on the audio clip so that it reads it for them. Jessica and Sarah are sisters. They both receive an allowance from their parents each week. Jessica likes to spend money and has only saved up $23.25. Sarah is more responsible and has saved up $35.20. They see a board game that they want to buy. The board game costs $59.50. If they put their money together, will they have enough to buy the board game? If not, how much do they still need? So here's where I would ask the student to work out the problem. And if I notice that the student is struggling, then we're going to talk about the vocabulary that's in the lesson. Now take the time to write down all the words from this problem that you are unfamiliar with. So I'll reiterate to the student, are there any words that you're not comfortable with? Are there any words that you don't know what the meaning is? So I'll go through those words. We'll talk about what allowance means, maybe what responsible means, and what this problem is asking her to do with the math. So once we've worked this problem out, and if we're using WebEx, I'll use the interactive board function to work out this math problem for her. I'll line up the decimals. I'll show her what the answer should have been if she got it wrong, and if she got it right, then we'll move on to the practice part of the session. So this is a really fun practice website for decimals, and it includes the standards from the core curriculum. So if we scroll down here and click on Add Decimals, we can virtually play this game together if we share the screen.
Add decimals using the model.
Modeling decimals is really good for ESOL students because then they can see the model while they're also adding it, and that visual really helps them understand what they're doing. So we'll play these games together. just to encourage the content, make sure that she knows what she's doing and that I know that she knows what she's doing. And after we play this for a little while, we'll move on to the next activity for the day. So the next activity is activity 2. And we are actually going to compare and contrast Jessica and Sarah in the previous problem. So Jessica and Sarah had some similarities and differences. So I want to take the time to break down that problem and see what they have that are similar and that are different. And before we start this activity, I want to review what comparing and contrasting is. So we're going to play a quick clip.
We're going to look at compare and contrast. That's same and different. When we compare, we tell what is the same about two or more things. Here's oranges and bananas. Let's compare them. Let's tell some ways that they're the same. Pause the video now, and in your notebook, write down one way that oranges and bananas are the same.
So we'll go over how oranges and bananas are similar, how we can compare them, and then we will go over how we contrast oranges and bananas, and that will lead us into our activity with comparing and contrasting with the people from the previous problem. So this, we really want to talk about the difference between the amounts of money that they have and how one person was able to save more than the other, but something that's similar, they both wanted to use their money to buy the board game. Then for activity number 3, we're going to have an audio clip, and I did add some images just to help with the audio clip because sometimes it's hard to translate English straight to paper. So we're going to play the audio clip, and I will have my student answer the question on a Google Doc so that I can see that they understand what the audio is saying. Robert goes to the store to buy some candy. He buys a packet of Sour Patch for $1.50. He also buys a Reese's for $1.25. How much will he spend if he buys both pieces of candy? So then we'll talk about how much total money that Robert should have in order to buy this candy. Again, I'll use the interactive board function with WebEx to work out the problem for my student. If my student gets it right, then we will continue and start with more challenging problems, which we have stored in activity 4, just in case we need to up the ante a little bit. So for the decimals game, we can do a matching activity with adding decimals. I'm using Quizlet because it's an excellent game activity for students to play. You can also use Quiz or Kahoot or any other online gaming platform. I like Quiz normally, but Quizlet has a nice matching activity that I like to play with students. So if you click on Match and you click Start Game, then the student on their end would have to match all of the answers to the problems as fast as they can. So you would go through, match all of the answers to the questions, and see if they can get a quick time. You could also play a game where the tutor does it and your student does it to see who got the fastest time. If you feel like that's going to stress your student out, though, I'd recommend not doing that. So after that activity, we have a compare and contrast game, which is also through Quizlet. You can play other games. You don't have to do the match. You can do gravity. You can also do just the writing portion. So you have options. You don't have to do the matching activity every time. Then at the end of our lesson, we're going to click the checkpoint just to see if the student has learned anything from the lesson. We want to see where they're at just to formatively understand where they are in their learning process. So we have some word problems here. We also have some math without word problems to see if they at least know the math content. And we also have a long response question about comparing and contrasting characters within the word problem. So we want to make sure we're embedding the math standard that we're trying to cover with adding decimals, as well as the standard to compare and contrast characters within a text. Then for the next days of the week, you can go for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you can put activities just like this, activity 1, 2, 3, and 4, onto this template. And again, this template was found on Slides Mania. So if you go to Slides Mania, you'll see this website, and you can go to Education. And I went to Weekly Planners. And I found it right here. So they have lots of different templates that you can use for your lessons and activities. And I picked this one. Once you click on the link, you're going to scroll all the way down. And you're going to avoid any pop-ups. A lot of pop-ups usually come up with blogs like this. And you're going to go down to where it says Get Google Slides Theme. You can either click Get Google Slides Theme, or you can click Download PowerPoint Template. So if you're more comfortable using Microsoft PowerPoint, then I would recommend choosing this option. If you're more comfortable using Google Slides, then I would choose the Google Slides theme. And that's normally which one I choose. So I click on Get Google Slides Theme. Make sure you're logged into your Google account or it won't add to your Google Drive. Since this is a template that I want, I can preview it just to see what it would look like for each day, and I can click Use Template. Once I click Use Template, it'll add to my Google Drive, and then I can edit it directly to what my content is. So I can click on all of this wording, I can change the dates if I want to, I can add links that I want to use in my activities, and it's very helpful and I highly recommend it. You can also add, Bitmojis to your presentation to make it more interactive. I know students really like Bitmoji, and what's really cool about Bitmoji is you can incorporate vocabulary. So let's say the vocabulary from the first problem, I think, said the word responsible. So if you want to add any vocabulary, you can type the word in Bitmoji and a picture of you with the word on top will appear, and you can just drag it into the screen. So this is like a fun way to incorporate any type of vocabulary in your presentations. You can resize this. And I like to use Bitmoji just with vocabulary because it's more fun for the students. Once you log into WebEx Teams and you start a space, so you create a space for your tutoring sessions, to get the whiteboard option, you go to your space. So the space is called ESOL Tutoring. That's what I named it. Then you're going to click on this little drop down arrow next to the title of the group. And now you can pick between messaging, scheduling a meeting, adding files, video chatting with your tutor, or clicking this option, which is the whiteboard. So for the math examples, when I do the whiteboard, I'll go here, and it says no whiteboards because it saves the whiteboards that you've used in your tutoring. To create a new whiteboard, you'll click this bottom left button here, and it will create a new whiteboard. So now I'm able to draw here. So let's say I was adding 4.23 and 2.21. Then I could work that problem out while talking to the student so that they know how to add decimals correctly. So I'll be using this platform in order to work out all of the math examples for my student.